Are you ready to go, Ms. Clerk?
I'm ready to go here.
So your recordings are running.
Yes.
Wonderful. Kenmore City Council is now in session, and I would like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional land of the first people of Kenmore and honor with gratitude the land itself and the Coast Salish peoples who thrive in this place alive and strong. Will the clerk please take the roll?
Deputy Mayor Herbig,
Here.
Councilmember File,
Here.
Councilmember Shrubnik,
Here.
Councilmember O'Kane, Councilmember O'Kane,
Yes.
Councilmember Kugler,
Here.
Councilmember Marshall,
Present.
Mayor Baker.
Here. All right, if you would all please join me in the flag salute. City Manager's got a flag there on the screen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
All right. The next item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I would like to make a small modification to the agenda to add as item E, a statement and a general agreement and proclamation on the hate crimes that are going around against the Asian American and Pacific Islander community. I've sent a copy of that to everybody, and you should all have it. And we will be discussing that as item E on the agenda, if there are no objections. If there are no objections, the agenda will stand approved as modified. Next item on the agenda is a proclamation. And let me find the first one here. So this is a proclamation, National Safe Place Week. This National Safe Place Week is totally different than the one we're doing in our community. They are not related. This is a national program for child abuse against children. Whereas Safe Place is a program that quickly connects runaway and homeless youth aged 12 to 17 to services, either by reuniting them with their family or providing them with emergency shelter that began in 1983 and has grown to include nearly 140 programs nationally, including King County. And whereas more than 379,000 youth have been helped at a Safe Place location or received counseling as a result of the Safe Place information received at school. And whereas since the program began in 1983, more than 15 million youth have been educated through the National Safe Place Network's outreach efforts, familiarizing them with the Safe Place sign and providing them with the information about how to seek help in order to stay safe. And whereas Safe Place maintains a 24-hour hotline where youth can directly connect with Safe Place staff, and within 1 hour, a Safe Place coordinator meets with the youth, assesses the situation, and works with the youth to place them at a shelter or reunite them with parents or guardians. Whereas Friends of Youth and Youth Care have run in partnerships since 2012 to provide Safe Place services for both youth in crisis across Kenmore and metro buses, local businesses, and nonprofit organizations number among over 2,100 places in King County that have volunteered to serve as locations where youth can go and request assistance, and where staff members are trained to respond to youth in need and immediately contact Safe Place. And whereas the success of Safe Place is based on the public and private collaborations, and Kenmore King County needs increased numbers of community volunteers serving as mentors and positive influences on youth people. And whereas increased awareness will encourage more communities to establish Safe Place locations where youth can readily access the help they need. Whereas National Safe Place Week will be celebrated across the nation during the week of March 21st through March 27th, 2020. Now, therefore, I, David Baker, Mayor of the City of Kenmore, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby affirm the work done by the National Safe Place Program and resources provided by Friends of Youth, and proclaim March 22nd through March 28th as National Safe Place Week. Mrs. Warhol, do we have somebody here to accept the proclamation?
We do. We have Deanne Adams, and she's representing Friends of Youth, and I think she's going to come online in just a second.
There she is. And if you want to take a couple of minutes and tell us about your program and your facility, I would really appreciate it.
Great. Well, thank you. Good evening, all. I'm so appreciative to have the opportunity to be here and speak with you all, and absolutely appreciate the assistance and really community partnership with the city. The success of the Safe Place program is only possible with strong community partnerships and relationships. It is a hallmark of the Safe Place program. So we really appreciate the proclamation and the attention that you're drawing to what is a critical program, really serving as a crisis response and hotline for what I think often we can lose sight of, the fact that we have young teens, minors in the community that are at times in extremely vulnerable situations. So to have one simple number to call and know that somebody will respond in person on site, the program works to be as low barrier and connect directly with young people in crisis, sort of the hallmark of that program. I will say briefly, so Safe Place is one program of a continuum of programs and services that we offer at Friends of Youth. Friends of Youth is an organization, nonprofit organization, focusing on services for youth and young adults, primarily on the east side. We have campus hubs in Kirkland, in Redmond, in Renton. We also offer mental health services and behavioral health supports in various cities and rural side of East King County. The closest facility that we have to you all is one in Bothell, so right next door, New Ground Bothell. It's a housing program for pregnant and parenting moms. But we have been in the business for 70 years. We provide a lot of housing supports for young people experiencing homelessness, also young people in the foster care system, as well as a shelter. You might have heard that one of the pieces of support that Safe Place provides is connecting young people with a shelter if they can't go home safely. And we do offer the only shelter for youth between the ages of 7 and 17, while working to find longer term, more stable places for them to go in moments of crisis. And that's a shelter and support that's provided out of Kirkland. So also not too far from you all. I'll be mindful of time. I could talk all evening about the work we do. We provide a lot of services in a lot of areas, but I believe I was told 2 to 3 minutes. So I'll pause there and just express my appreciation again. And as far as the city of Kenmore and your support of our National Safe Place program. Thank you all.
Thank you very much. Kenmore has always been involved with children, trying to provide a safe place for them, trying to provide activities for them, and being generally supportive of them. And we were very active and received a number of national awards when working with youth on the Michelle Obama program. The next proclamation is for Child Abuse Prevention Month. And whereas all children deserve to grow up in a safe and nurturing environment to ensure they reach their full potential. And whereas our children are our most valuable resource and will shape the future of Kenmore. And whereas safe and healthy childhoods produce confident and successful adults. And whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, and finding solutions requires input and action from everyone. And whereas protective factors are conditions that reduce or eliminate risk and promote the social, emotional, and developmental well-being of children. And whereas effective child abuse prevention activities succeed because of the partnerships created between child welfare professionals, education, health, community, and faith-based organizations, businesses, law enforcement agencies, and families. And whereas communities must make every effort to promote programs and activities that create strong and thriving children and families. And whereas we acknowledge that we must work together as a community to increase awareness about child abuse and contribute to promote the social and emotional well-being of children and families in safe, stable, and nurturing environment. And whereas prevention remains the best defense for our children and families. Now I, therefore, David Baker, Mayor of the City of Kenmore, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim April 21st to be Child Abuse Prevention Month. We urge all residents to recognize this month by dedicating ourselves to improving the quality of life for all children and families. And do we have somebody to accept this?
We do. We have with us Fran Gattaca. She is an education specialist with Dawson Place.
Fran, thank you for coming tonight. And can you please tell us a little bit about your organization?
Yeah, my pleasure. Thank you so much, everyone, for having me. So I'm Fran Gattaca, Community Engagement Specialist at Dawson Place Child Advocacy Center. So we exist because every child abuse victim deserves the professional care that they need to be safe, to seek justice, and to begin that healing process. We serve child abuse victims that have been sexually assaulted, that have been physically hurt, or that have witnessed a horrible crime. We provide all of the services that they may need in our building in one site. We're located in downtown Everett. So we have mental health counseling, medical exams, forensic interviews, advocacy, law enforcement, prosecution services, everything that a child abuse victim would need in one location. It's really beneficial for the victims to have the ability to limit the times that they tell their story. It's very traumatizing for them to repeat their story over and over again. So it's really helpful that we have them all in our building, and we're very grateful for that. To give you a better visualization of COVID times, so we have a little over 1,600 victims of child abuse a year in Snohomish County. In Dawson Place, we help around 1,100 a year. But during COVID, we saw a huge decrease. April 2020, we saw 115 clients. We were on pace to serve 1,100 by the end of June 2020. But as school shut down, as hospitals started to have inundated with COVID patients, everything started changing. We saw a 54% drop in the amount of clients that we served, which is huge. Child abuse isn't stopping. It's not stopping. The children are just not able to see the safe adults that they're used to seeing. They don't have the schools, the police officers, the hospitals. They were all so busy with social unrest, COVID patients, new safety regulations. That's why April 2021 Child Abuse Prevention Month is so important and crucial to our community. As the mayor mentioned, it is so important for the community to care about children's upcoming to care and prevent future child abuse victims. There's so much that we can do as a community. We can learn the signs of child abuse. That's why we offer darkness to light classes for community members to register and learn the signs of abuse. What do you do if a child discloses? What do you do if you're not sure about what's happening? What if you don't know if that's a bruise because they fell or if it's because of something else? We have free signs to give to anyone that they can place outside, at their home, at work, that say Child Abuse Prevention Month with a link. We have social media content for community members. We have kindness rocks, all sorts of things in April. So if anyone's interested, feel free to reach out. And we are more than gladly to work with anyone to spread awareness about child abuse prevention.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate all your efforts in helping our children. All right. The next proclamation is whereas in Washington state, 45% of women and 22% of men report having experienced sexual violence in their lifetime. And whereas in King County, 7,152 adults and children received specialized assistance from organizations with programming for sexual assault victims in 2020. And whereas members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ community in particular have historically underreported hate crimes that occur to them. Whereas rape is the most underreported crime for reasons that include victims' fear of being disbelieved or further traumatized within systems designed to support them. Additional barriers such as language, immigration status, gender bias, and systemic racism further oppress the silence victims. And whereas individual and community impacts of sexual violence are rooted in the and compounded by racial, gender, sexual orientation, and other forms of oppression, Black, Indigenous, and other people of color, people living in poverty, LGBTQ people, elders, people with disabilities, and other people targeted by oppression are affected by sexual violence in significant and complex ways. Whereas statewide, 29% of the survivors who were supported by a community sexual assault organization identified as Black, Indigenous, and people of color in 2019. Of those identifying ethnicity, 21% identified as Latinx and Hispanic. And whereas King County is home to many organizations that provide culturally and linguistically specific services for survivors from various racial, ethnic, faith, and cultural communities, survivors who are immigrants and refugees, survivors who are LGBTQ, and survivors with disabilities. These culturally specific services are critical to the effective response to the specific needs and barriers that many survivors face. And whereas negative impacts of sexual violence, trauma on women, men, children, and youth include fear, concern for safety, symptoms of post-traumatic stress disorder, injury, and missed work and school. And whereas working together as a community, we can alleviate the trauma of sexual violence by ensuring supportive resources are available to all survivors, while standing up to harmful attitudes and behaviors that contribute to sexual assault. Now I, therefore, David Baker, Mayor of the City of Kenmore, on behalf of the City Council, join advocates and communities throughout King County in taking action to prevent sexual violence by standing with survivors and proclaiming April 21st as Sexual Assault Awareness Month. Together, we commit to a safer future for all children, young people, adults, and families in our communities. All right. Next item on the agenda was my dancing competition with Dancing with the Stars. The guy who won it all, the president of Cascadia College, the one and only Dr. Eric Murray.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I hate to disappoint you, but I came in second. I forget
I
who
thought you
won.
won it.
Yeah, I came in second. But
Well,
our relationship does go back quite some time now, doesn't it, to our glory days. Mr. Mayor, members of the council, good evening, and thank you for having me tonight. Anastasia, if I could get share screen ability, unless you have my PowerPoint to put up. I come by periodically to council just to let you know what the status of your community college is. We are located in Bothell. We serve the cities of Kenmore, Bothell, Woodinville, Redmond, and Kirkland. And every couple of years I come by to let you know what the status of the college is, give you an update so that you're aware. And it'll take just a couple of minutes, and happy to take questions if you so desire afterwards. I also do this presentation for the 3 school boards that we serve: North Shore, Riverview, and Lake Washington School District.
Let Anastasia get your screen shared or something here.
Yes.
Have the full effect. Dr.
All right, there we
There
go. And we'll get the PowerPoint up. So we are not that far away. We are not in outer space. We are closer to you than that, just right at the next city over in Bothell. You are so close to us, we can touch you. In fact, I live in Lake Forest Park, and I'm right on the Kenmore is sandwiched between where I live and where I usually go to work. Some fast facts about where Cascadia is as of right now. Our average age continues to be young, around 19. We continue to serve about 5,000 students, and 80% of them intend to go to a university. We serve a large middle-class population. About 50% of our students need a part-time job in order to go to school. We have a low financial aid rate because of the income of the area, but that doesn't mean that students necessarily can afford it. They still need to have a job. 35% are running start, and there'll be some more statistics on that coming up. Those are our high school students who attend classes with us, and about 1,000 students every year complete some form of degree with us. Last year, 550 students transferred to the University of Washington system, and then 123 went to Wazoo, 123 to Western, 50 to Central Washington, and then 28 went to Arizona State University. They actually do a really good job at marketing up here, and a lot of our students end up going there. We have 5 different kinds of students: current grads, current students, recent grads, careers ups, adults who are seeking more training for careers, students looking to develop basic skills, which means getting their high school degree, and international students. That international students number has gone way down. Prior to about 4 years ago, we served about 600 international students, and because of geopolitical and now health crises, we're down to about 100 international students. North Shore School District is probably the district that interests you most. I don't have the breakdown by high school, but I do know that Inglemoor in Kenmore is our second largest feeder into the Running Start program. And as of 2020, we had 521 students from the North Shore School District. The largest feeder high school is Bothell High School. We're really trying to work to get these Lake Washington School District numbers up. They tend to want to go to Bellevue College. We are very much working on a program funded by the legislature called Guided Pathways, which helps students choose meta majors as opposed to individual majors. So that's groupings of majors. So that doesn't make them so career focused while they're with us at the community college, and allows them a broad transferability when they get into the university. We, as everyone, have an effective COVID plan. We've had no cases on campus nor transmission, and that includes both UW-Bothell and Cascadia, which, as you know, are linked at the hip. And some general questions we've been getting: what's the outlook for fall. Right now, we are on a slow and steady path to increasing the number of in-person classes. We are not going to jump full in, and that's because our schedule of classes gets published in about 2 weeks. And what we've heard from students and faculty is that once we publish that schedule, we need to stick to it because students build their lives around the schedule. And if we go and all of a sudden change it from remote to in-person at the last minute, then that means travel time and parking and other hurdles for them to cross. So we're building a schedule based on what we know now and what we anticipate vaccination and transmission will be like in the fall. And then we have a plan for about 25% in person in the fall, 50% in the winter, and 75% in spring, which is where we'll probably plateau. We are financially doing okay because of the stimulus money. Our enrollment went down about 15% this year, and that caused about $1.5 million deficit to the college. Stimulus money has covered that for us and will continue to do that into next year. So we are able to offer all classes and services as if we weren't affected by enrollment. And UW-Bothell is doing well. They did not have an enrollment hit. Universities tended to stay whole through COVID, while community colleges across the nation took a bit of a downturn. UW-Bothell and Cascadia continue to work really well together. They are the #1 destination for Cascadia students, and they've been great teammates. So that's kind of the status of our relationship there. And I'm going to go ahead and end the screen share and let you know Cascadia is doing fine. I absolutely adore Kenmore, and not just because I danced with the mayor in a dance off 5, 6, 7 years ago, but because I travel through the city every day, and we draw a large number of students from the Kenmore population. So we're doing well, and wanted to remind you that we're here for you in the event that we can do anything also to help you in the city. If you have time, Mr. Mayor, happy to entertain questions, but I also know that you probably have a full agenda.
No, we certainly have time for questions. If anybody has questions, please. No, I'm not seeing any.
All right. You can always reach out to me, and I'm happy to, if you think of something later. Want to just a shout out to Nigel. Thanks so much for helping us on all these years in the legislature. He's my go-to person down there and helps make sure that I get to see the right people. So thanks very much, and I wish you a great evening.
Yeah, he's a good person to know. All right. Next item on the agenda is public comments.
We would like to welcome our community members to the council's meeting. In this forum, the council cannot engage or dialogue with the public because the primary role of this segment is for us to listen. The comments must be addressed to the mayor and the city council. Please use the raise hand feature if you wish to speak. I will acknowledge your request and call your name when it's your turn. Your time is going to start when we can confirm that we hear you. Please state your name, city of residence for the record, and keep your comments to 3 minutes. Your time cannot be granted to another, and your clock time will not be reset unless there are extenuating circumstances and the presiding officer has expressly allowed it. Screen sharing is not allowed. You can submit materials to the council or clerk in advance. This meeting is being recorded. If you are here to comment on the fire district merger ballot measure, we ask that you wait to participate in the special comment time following that agenda item. I see we have 3 hands raised at the moment: David Morton, Janet Hayes, and Rick Hawley. We're going to take them in that order. Mr. Morton?
Yes. Good evening, council members. I'm David Morton. I live near Redmond. Last October, Cadman did a stack emission testing at their asphalt facility in Kenmore. The testing looked at only for particulate matter, opacity, nitrogen oxides, and carbon monoxide. People downwind from Cadman's asphalt plant have been smelling and inhaling toxic fumes of petroleum hydrocarbons, VOCs, and PAHs, polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons. Yet the stack test did not attempt to determine the levels of these organic chemicals known to exist in asphalt plant emissions. Although Cadman often calls its Kenmore asphalt facility a hot mix asphalt plant, the facility makes warm mix asphalt instead. Because the warm mix process is supposed to use lower temperatures, the VOC emissions from a warm mix plant are assumed to be less than the VOC emissions from a hot mix plant. This assumption may be true if all other variables are kept constant. But if a warm mix asphalt plant uses cutback asphalt as its binder, the plant could emit thousands of times higher levels of hazardous air pollutants than a hot mix plant. For example, medium cure cutback asphalt contains around 35% kerosene, and lots of kerosene would be evaporated into the air if an asphalt plant uses medium cure as binder. A PSCAA inspection report of the Kenmore asphalt plant from September 2017 says that Cadman's plant operator and a PSCAA inspector were discussing a 25,000 gallon tank of medium cure cutback asphalt located on site and being used as binder at Cadman's asphalt plant. Before simply applying AP42 emission factors to predict emissions from Cadman's asphalt plant, one should be aware of circumstances such as using cutback asphalt that might cause the plant to emit higher levels of VOCs and PAHs than those of other typical existing asphalt plants. For estimating VOCs from a batch mix asphalt plant, the AP42 emission factor has a rating of D, as in dog. This means that there may be reason to suspect that the test facilities used to calculate the emission factor do not represent a random sample of the industry, and that not all asphalt plants are alike. The introduction to AP42 warns against using D-rated emission factors as a matter of standard practice. It's better to test and continuously monitor emissions than to use D-rated emission factors. Thank you.
Thank you. Janet Hayes.
Sorry.
We can hear you.
Okay. My name is Janet Hayes, and I live in Kenmore, Washington. And last week, March 11th, I had Brian Hampson and Bridget Baker come to my home because I was smelling the asphalt. They did not smell it, but they filed a report for me, and I want to thank them for coming. They did notice that they could smell asphalt truck when it came by, but the air was going in the opposite direction. It was heading northeast, and it misses me when it does that. During my call, they got another call reporting the same asphalt smell. They did mention that they had put a new odor suppressor in, and what I'm curious about and have been curious since then is I started reviewing all of my old records. I started complaining along with North Lake Neighbors Association on this hill, all the people up the hill, and who were complaining about the air and the asphalt fumes. We asked for testing in 2009 and were told that we would get testing and monitoring. I have, from 2008 until present, I have emails and public comments that were made, and I don't care if there is a suppressant put in it. What I care about is what am I breathing? I have been asking that for 12 years. I'm tired of it. And to just expect that the odor suppressant is not stopping anything. Just the smell, just the odor. So if all Puget Sound Clean Air Agency does is give violations for odor, then that seems to be a problem, because what we wanted to know a year ago when we got serious again, instead of just all the time, but again and came to the city, we let you know, we want to know what we're breathing. It doesn't matter if it has a suppressant or not. Thank you. I hope you listen to me and hear me, and ask for any information I can give you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hayes. Rick Hawley, I noticed that you have lowered your hand. Therefore, David Dorian, are you available?
Hello, can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Excellent. I just wanted to commend the council and Chief of Police, Chief Moen as well for the work for the Safe Place program that's going to be talked about later in the meeting this evening. I think it's fantastic that there is this commitment to supporting the safety and the well-being of LGBTQIA+ youth in Kenmore. And I'm also really appreciative of the statement that Mayor Baker made at the start of this meeting, adding the proclamation against the acts of hate that we've seen across the country and also locally. And I just wanted to commend the council and the work that's being done around diversity, equity, and inclusion at this time, and as we're seeing specifically this evening with the Safe Place program that Chief Moen will talk about later. So that's all I had to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Pat O'Brien.
Hi, Pat O'Brien. I live here in Kenmore, and I'd like to comment on the last time I submitted a citizen's comment. It seems as though that somebody on that side of the camera did not mute their microphone, and the comment I made was very garbled and the time skipped all over the place. So I would really appreciate it if the mayor and city manager or anybody else would turn their microphones off. I've looked at some of the things this evening. I looked at a resolution you're going to look at earlier, 21-6361. And in this proclamation, this is a transportation project, and then Mayor Baker has signed off on this. It talks about more asphalt overlays, and then the next sentence it says that we're doing all we can to reduce a carbon footprint. Well, I put it to you that adding asphalt to any place is not reducing the carbon footprint. It is, in fact, exacerbating it. I also want to bring a point up that I just recently learned of another person on 181st that some of you are personal friends with has contracted cancer, and they work and live in this area. And I think that's directly attributable to the asphalt plant. As you heard Dr. Morton point out, the medium heat asphalt plant, because they're not using high heat, the tar won't melt very quickly. So what they do is they add solvents to it, the kerosene and other products, to get it into a liquid form, and then they're hitting it with that heat, and you can smell it like you were right next to it's just an overwhelming smell, and with that comes the cancer risk. So 3 people here that I know of have cancer. So it's time to address the Cascade Law Group. And what we're seeing here is it being used as a cover by the city not to take action against the asphalt plant. And the city needs to do the number one thing is to protect the health and safety of the people in Kenmore. That's not happening. It's kicked the can down the road, 15 more years of factory use of Lake Point, of asphalt plant. None of this is going to make anybody feel like voting for anybody that's currently sitting on the council unless you direct the city manager to take care of this issue and make sure that the asphalt operations permit is
Thank you,
thrown
Mr.
out.
O'Brien.
Yeah.
Stacy Valenzuela.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Stacy Valenzuela, Kenmore, Washington. First, I want to thank the city council members that declined at the last meeting to remove our mobile home parks on the disqualified column for criteria used for the public works site. After 2 years of meetings, the city instated a moratorium to preserve the 6 parks 4 of them for 10 years, the other 2 indefinitely, for which they received an award for saving this very low affordable housing. I understand the city has 13 properties. I'm sure they could find some space on one of them. Thank you to Rob, the city manager, John Vicente, Angela Kruger, Corina File, for meeting and listening to our residents' concerns, among them the asphalt plant emissions, Simons Road, and keeping natural habitats protected, as well as climate action. From my longtime Kenmore neighbors and residents, they had returned surveys back in 2013 and 2015, choosing a Native American name to honor the original people that lived here, show respect, and thank the local tribes that own the water rights here in the slough. They returned with the Native American names for the new park that was going to be on 175th Street. The city decided to name the park after a white settler instead. This was disappointing to them. Another problem I wanted to bring up tonight is why we need to celebrate and have a proclamation as well as a flag ceremony for Veterans Day. It's not enough to thank people that sacrifice their limb, their life, and their family by having a holiday and posting Veterans Day on your website. That just isn't enough. Both my grandfathers were killed in world wars. My father served in the Korean War, my husband in Vietnam, my brother in peacetime. There are many other families and people in Kenmore and in the Northwest that have lost family members, lost the livelihood that they once had because of our wars. It's only fitting for us to show a tribute to them. The other thing I wanted to mention is that I think that club donations and funding should be shared among several clubs. Too often I see $1,500 denied. It would be nice to have it shared.
Ms. Valenzuela.
Thank you.
Becca Chen.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Becca Chen. I live up in Arrowhead, and I am a Kenmore resident here for about over a year now. I am here at the citizens comment section to ask the city for a proclamation for all the great contributions that Asian Americans have made to the city. We work here, we live here, our children go to school here, and honestly, I feel that Kenmore is a great microcosm of the great land of America. It shows a diversity in the way that we really work together and live side by side to make this country beautiful and great. Our interwoven connectedness of our experience and our culture is what really brings our community together. And being that Asians do comprise of the biggest minority group here in Kenmore in the recent census, it was over 10%. I do believe it is a significant enough number of us that are here that we chose to live here because of the open, welcoming community that Kenmore really does represent. The great schools, the great teachers, and the great neighbors is what makes Kenmore so special. And I think that it is worthy of responding appropriately by saying, by providing that proclamation for all the great contributions that Asian Americans have made to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Chen. Elizabeth Mooney. Elizabeth Mooney.
Hello.
Hi.
I assume you hear me.
Yes.
Thank you, Anastasia, and council and staff. Hello, my name is Elizabeth Mooney. I've been a resident of Kenmore for 26 years. I'm president of the 501c3 nonprofit PERC, People for Environmentally Responsible Kenmore. And PERC is one of the nonprofits and groups and of the Kenmore Clean Air Coalition that began about a year ago, when we came to the city of Kenmore to talk about the emissions that come from the Cadman plant. In discussions with the city of Kenmore's consultant, Cascadia Law and TRC Environmental and Cadman, and staff, it has been pointed out that Cadman, since October 2020, has used an odor suppressant, EcoSorb. While this suppressant appears to be benign itself, it masks the odors of the emissions. And we still do not know what VOCs or polyaromatic hydrocarbons are in those emissions. And that is what we came to you asking that we could ask the city to help us ask Cadman if we could test the emissions from their staff. I want to heartily support what David Morton said, what Patrick O'Brien said, what Janet Hayes said, and what Stacy Valenzuela said. We still have the same problem that has been going on since like 2009, we started talking to council about this. So while it's really a catch-22. The only way to make a complaint officially with Puget Sound Clean Air Agency is if there's an odor complaint. And yet we're now without House Bill 1057 for bikers to complain from the trail. And Cadman has been putting an odor suppressant in since October. So here's a possible solution. Puget Sound Clean Air Agency, and I talked to Ecology about this and sent an email, has an air sensor blending program. So what I'm asking council is that you could help us as soon as Earth Day to apply for the use of these air sensors, as we did PERC did in 2017 with the UW-Tacoma nurse, Dr. Robin Evans Agnew and the STEM kids. Let's do it again in 2021 as soon as possible, because honestly, we've made zero progress in terms of monitoring. We also do not know anything about the Microsoft air sensors that David Baker helped us get. We don't even know whether Cascadia has said that that indicates that the particulates are unhealthy or not. So let me know if we can work on this air sensor. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Mooney. I see no further hands raised.
Mayor Baker, you're on mute.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Seeing no one coming forward, let's move on to the next item. And we thank you all very much for participating tonight in citizen comments. We do listen, and your comments are important to us. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Consent agenda stands approved unanimously. Next item on the agenda is the business agenda. King County Fire Protection District number 16. We were supposed to have a couple of people during citizen comments, but evidently they chose not to come tonight. So, Mr. City Manager, I know that staff does not know much about this or the goings on, but do you have any suggestions, or does council have any comments?
I can kind of kick it off.
Yes, please.
Yeah, so in front of you tonight is a discussion on the proposed merger between North Shore Fire District and the Woodinville Fire District. And that's going in front of the voters at the April 27th special election. And we were going to have the representatives of the fire district come and give us more information about that. And then if you wish, you can take a position on it tonight after you give both sides of the proposed merger a chance to speak. And so part of this tonight is, part of this agenda item is public comment. And so that might be a reason why you didn't see them at the first public comment, Mayor, is because they have an opportunity to give public comment here under this specific agenda item. But we did provide information in the agenda bill, plus some links that are on the agenda that talk about the merger and what's proposed. And if there are any folks that are watching that consider themselves experts on this topic, I recommend that you promote them to panelists to give you additional information, but that's definitely your decision to make, your and the council decision to whether or not to promote people to panelists.
Yeah, I think we have some people here from the fire department, and I think we have some people here from the fire commission, and I'm not sure whether we have any union representation.
Excuse me, Mayor Baker. I do see a union representation. In fact, I see the president of the fire union, Mr. Jeremiah Ingersoll, present in attendance.
So let me ask the city attorney, if only one side comes forward, is that okay to present? Or do we need both sides coming forward?
So thank you, Mr. Mayor. So actually, this, because it's not really a presentation, if you will, what you're giving the public, regardless of which side, you're giving the public the equal opportunity to come forward and provide public comments to you. If only, you have a handful of public comment for one side or the other, I mean, that's all you're going to get. But if you're going to raise one side, then I suggest that you raise the other side also as a presenter, or just limit all of them to public comment as you would normally do earlier in the agenda.
Yeah, but then they can't really talk about the issue, can they?
They can provide public comment to the issue. If they have questions, it's usually up to the presiding. It's usually up to the presiding officer if council wants to address the questions.
Because we stopped somebody last week who was giving one side, so
we stopped that because of me. And if you recall, I actually interrupted them. We now have the legal authority to have this discussion.
Fine. Deputy Mayor.
I just wanted to point out that I can see that Commissioner Marin and I think Woodinville Commissioner Milman are also in the audience with their hands raised. So,
right.
Also,
so Anastasia, how do you want to handle this? It's just public comment?
I think that's up to you and the deputy mayor. I can certainly demote Mr. Ingersoll, no offense, and all of them can have exactly 3 minutes to offer comments, or you can choose from the list of people you see and promote as panelists for, it's up to you.
Yeah, I would rather not promote some people as panelists and others not. Deputy Mayor, what do you think?
I don't have a strong opinion, especially with everything that's happened the last week or two with this subject. I'm not sure if there's a strong pro presence.
Right.
Anyway, I could be wrong.
Councilmember Marshall?
I would harken back to city attorney. I think the safest way seemed to be the public comment.
Yes, I agree. So let's go ahead and start public comment with the fire department merger.
Stand by. Mr. Ingersoll, since you're already with us, you'll go first, if that's okay with you.
Sure, can you hear me?
Rules that apply for public comment. You'll have 3 minutes from the time you're talking.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. I planned on 5, so I'll try to keep this brief. Thank you, Mr. Mayor and City Council. My name is Jeremiah Ingersoll. I'm the lieutenant for the North Shore Fire Department, where I've worked for over 19 years. I am also the president of the North Shore Firefighters Local 2459. We are very pleased with the recent motion that was passed at the most recent Joint Board of Fire Commissioners meeting on March 16th. And I would like to relay that motion to you. North Shore Board of Commissioners cease any and all efforts in moving forward with the merger consolidation with Woodinville Fire and Rescue until such time we are working with the support and cooperation of the North Shore Firefighters Local 2459. I am here today on behalf of the 42 members in my union. We would ask the council to approve a motion or a resolution in opposition to the merger between North Shore Fire Department and Woodinville Fire Department. As proposed, the merger offers no increase in emergency services, unsustainable staffing, misleading tax savings, and a decrease in pay to my members. Some of my firefighters stand to lose over 12% pay, and we have received no written agreement from the department to bridge that gap. The combined agency financials that were published on the district's website on January 26th of this year, and again followed by a press release on March 3rd, stating that North Shore property owners would receive a reduction of 11 cents per 1,000 of assessed value on their effective tax rate for fire and emergency medical services through a merger with Woodinville. And Woodinville would receive a reduction of 7 cents. According to the district, the estimated reductions were identified through a financial analysis prepared by an independent third-party financial firm. However, that third-party firm consultant, Tom Barocci, has actually been the fire department's lead consultant for over 15 years in both North Shore and Woodinville. At the December 1, 2020 Board of Commissioners meeting, Tom Barocci indicated that Joan and Fire Chief did the bulk of the work. It is important to note that Joan and Fire Chief are Woodinville employees. The district's one-page projected 2021 combined agency financials spreadsheet post on January 26 is incomplete, inaccurate, misleading, and most importantly, unsustainable. In the combined agency's projection, they show over $1 million shortfall between the current revenues and total expenditures. Furthermore, they padded that projection with an additional $600,000 projected carryover from previous budget, which is misleading because this is a one-time budget. I'm going to skip down as my time is running out. This is a one-time adjustment that is not sustainable, that has allowed the district to project a $1.19 effective tax rate to mislead and incentivize taxpayers to approve this merger. If you were to use those same tactics with Woodinville's standalone budget, it would reduce their effective tax savings from $1.26 to $1.12. That's a 14-cent saving. I hope the city council can work with us in opposing this merger known as Proposition 1 on the upcoming ballot.
Thank you, Mr. Ingersoll. Mike Millman. Mike Millman.
Hello, Council.
We can hear you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. My name is again Mike Millman. I'm the Deputy Chair for Woodinville Fire Commissioners, and I wanted to speak towards the positives for this merger. To give you a little background, I am a almost 30-year veteran firefighter. I retired about 2-3 years ago. I was a station captain in the city of Everett. I was a labor leader. I negotiated contracts, and I've served on the board for about the last 3 years. About 2.5 years ago, we discussed a merger between Shoreline, North Shore, and Woodinville, and those talks went on well over a year. In the end, the North Shore board decided that Shoreline was not a good fit, and over a process, they decided that Woodinville would be a good fit. What we decided was the merging of the two entities, the two most financially solvent entities, would create lots of opportunities. I'm going to speak to the service increases that Kenmore and Lake Forest Park citizens would receive. First, what we propose to do is the headquarters would be in Kenmore. And the reason why I emphasize that is because your fire chief, your deputy chief, your fire marshal, we would add a PIO component that North Shore doesn't currently have, that Woodinville has. We would share a chief administrative officer that is very good with our financial data. We would share an HR person. We would have more efficiencies in training. Community outreach, our PIO would be able to do a lot more community outreach in the Kenmore area because you don't have the Kenmore, North Shore does not have a PIO right now. We would increase things like purchasing equipment. We wouldn't need as many apparatus, which is, are very expensive. Our response times are going to be better regarding transport to hospital. We propose, as Woodinville does, we propose to, instead of having a for-profit ambulance company transport Kenmore citizens, we will go to an aid car that's already in place and purchased, and would be staffed we estimate about 71% of the time, which will increase not only the service to Woodinville or to Kenmore residents, because the transportation to the hospital will be much faster. It will also decrease costs on an average of $500 out-of-pocket costs and $2,500 to insurance carriers for emergency transportation ambulances. Somebody else, I believe, is going to talk to a lot of the cost savings for this merger, but I wanted to speak specifically to all the service increases. We would have a hazmat unit move to the North Shore side, which also increased services. And I see my time's running out, but there's more, and anybody can contact me if they have more questions.
Thank you. David Mahern. David Mahern.
It's David Marin.
David Marin.
Can you hear me now?
We can.
Okay, sorry for that. My name is Dave Marin. I'm a longtime Kenmore resident. You may know me as a North Shore Fire Department Fire Commissioner. To be clear, tonight I come before you as a private citizen. I'm not speaking for the North Shore Board of Fire Commissioners because the notice for this meeting came too late for me to get board permission to participate. I, like everyone else in our community, appreciate the competency and the compassion our firefighters bring when one of us needs help. I also appreciate that they're always striving to do better. I have almost 50 years of public safety experience, 30 years with the King County Sheriff's Office, and 20 years as a fire commissioner. I've never seen a better example of government efficiency coupled with service improvements than this fire department merger proposal. Everybody wins: improved service, lower costs without reducing service locations, line staff, or member pay. As a member of this community, there are questions I'd want answered. Have the fire commissioners and fire administration done their due diligence before placing the merger on the ballot? And are the savings and service improvements real, and are they sustainable? I'll try to answer those questions tonight. First, has everyone done their due diligence? I'd say absolutely. This process started in 2014 when the city of Bothell, Snohomish County Fire District 10, the Woodinville Fire and Rescue Department, and the North Shore Fire Department agreed to examine consolidation options. The group hired ESCI, an experienced public safety consulting firm, to examine response time, call load, staffing, facility, apparatus condition, budgets for each agency. It was a comprehensive report. It's available for any of the participating agencies. Unfortunately, over a year of meetings, the group was not able to find a path to consolidation. In 2019, when the North Shore Board of Commissioners learned that their acting fire chief was retiring, the board issued a request for proposals for fire chief services. Shoreline and Woodinville Fire Departments submitted proposals. The board selected Woodinville to provide fire chief services. Chief Greg Erhern, as North Shore acting fire chief, suggested integration of our administrative staff and examining full merger of the departments. The board received contract for service merger proposals for both Shoreline and Woodinville. To assist with assessing the proposals, the board hired Tom Brochi, a finance and business expert of high integrity who is experienced working with fire districts. The board evaluated the organizational strengths, service improvements, and costs for each proposal. After much study and dialogue that involved all parties, legislative, administrative, and labor, the board chose to go forward with the Woodinville proposal. We then spent months developing a merger plan. The resolution for the merger election was approved in November. Are the savings and service improvements real and sustainable? Yes, they are. We've looked at those in a variety of ways. I can't get into all of them now because I thought I had 5 minutes instead of 3, but I would just say this issue is transformational for the community, and it needs to go forward.
Zooming at 7815.
Hi there. My username obviously didn't show up, but this is Eric Admin. Good evening, council members. Most of you know me, but I will introduce myself for those who don't. I'm Eric Admin, a resident of Kenmore. I've also been a Bothell firefighter, a North Shore Fire Commissioner, and currently a shoreline firefighter paramedic. I work closely with all the firefighters in Woodinville, North Shore, Bothell, and Shoreline. I'd like to share my perspective on what's happening right now with regard to a proposed fire district merger between North Shore and Shoreline and Woodinville. Essentially, what has happened is that the different parties to the proposed merger have not come to a shared vision of the outcome. You may have heard that labor across the region does not support it, and the North Shore Fire Commissioners recently voted 3-2 not to promote it until they have the support of the North Shore local union. Unfortunately, it's already on the ballot. How do we get here? Because the merger promoters moved forward unilaterally without the support of labor. I'm personally opposed to the current merger proposal for a number of reasons. Number one, it's being marketed as a cost savings, but if correct, on a $700,000 home, the proposed cost savings would be $77 a year. Number two, there's no financial reason for it. The fire districts are adequately funded and run at less than $150 per $1,000 assessed value equivalency. There's no reason to ask firefighters to take a pay cut to make this happen. Number three, it's being marketed as a service increase with free transport for North Shore citizens, but this is inaccurate and deceptive. Essentially, the promoters are saying that the fire department would use AMR less for transports. North Shore citizens already can be transported by the fire department and are not billed. North Shore has just historically made the policy decision to use AMR to keep units in service locally. This philosophical shift does not require a merger to happen. Number four, labor is opposed to it for two main reasons. First, they do not feel they've been dealt with in an open and honest manner, so there's a lack of trust. Second, because North Shore firefighters and Bothell too, if they elected to participate, were being asked to give up negotiated contract benefits for no reason. This resulted in Bothell deciding not to participate, further diminishing the value of the proposed merger. Number five, there seems to be a lack of transparency. There's no voters pamphlet, no voters forum, lots of pro information on social media and in press releases. Number six, North Shore received a detailed and well-developed proposal from Shoreline, but decided to go with a less tangible plan that really provided no basis for comparison. It's my opinion that this is because certain elected officials had a predetermined direction they wanted to go in. Again, these are just my personal perspectives. Thank you for the opportunity to share them.
Thank you. Roger Collins.
Yes. Yes. Hi. Good evening, Kenmore Council. I'm Roger Collins. I'm the chair of the Woodinville Fire Commission. I've been a long time Woodinville resident here for over 35 years. I am saddened by where we are with the merger, mainly the opposition from labor, because this is truly a positive plan for the citizens of Kenmore and Lake Forest Park, as well as the citizens of Woodinville. I deeply respect the fine work, the awesome work that the firefighters of North Shore and Woodinville and Bothell put in, and I'm hoping that we can get them online through some further negotiations that are underway. I would remind you that the North Shore board voted in a split decision to put the issue on hold until we could have further discussion with the locals, and we're hoping to do that. But tonight I'd like to talk about the true cost savings that are involved. And it's very easy to go there because we are already seeing those cost savings. We have combined both administrative staffs and have brought the cost of operation down without requiring any reduction in firefighter staff. This has all come through administrative staff. Our proposal does not include any reduction in firefighter staffing. And in fact, we believe through efficiencies of the combined agencies, we're able to bring much more efficiency to the citizens. The $1.19 is a sustainable number. We've gone through it numerous times. We know that there's an increase coming to the firefighters that will be negotiated through the labor contract process. We've allowed for that. The North Shore Fire Department right now would be running at about $1.30. Woodinville would be $1.26. Neighboring districts are in the $1.40 range. There is a real savings to be had here through administrative costs. We have no intention to have firefighters receive lower pay. We're working on trying to level that playing field as soon as we can. Thank you.
Thank you. Hans Hearn. Hans Hearn.
Can you hear me?
Try again.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Baker, council members, and citizens of Kenmore. I'm Hans, firefighter EMT for North Shore. Today is my birthday, and instead of spending this portion of the evening with my wife and kids, I'm taking time to speak in opposition of the proposed merger with Woodinville. I work at Station 51 in Kenmore. My son goes to school at Brookside Elementary, spend a lot of time in Kenmore and Lake Forest Park. Engine 57 out of Lake Forest Park is actually the closest engine to my house. So if I speak this personally, it's probably because I am. North Shore Fire Department has been run without a permanent fire chief for the past 2+ years, and it's starting to show. During that period, the North Shore Fire Department administration and outspoken minority of North Shore commissioners have colluded to paint a misleading picture of a combined department to plan long-term and by ignoring other much stronger merger options. Before starting my career in the fire service, I spent the better part of a decade as a scientist for local consulting firms. In that role, I collected and presented data that often had to be defended in court. Care must be taken to present data sets with valid conclusions, or you end up looking like a fool in front of a judge. Over the past several months, the data that North Shore admin and commissioners have presented are deliberately biased and misleading and would get laughed out of court. Just last week, our admin presented cherry data from a 45-day date range, a range that is entirely meaningless except for the fact that the data in that range supports their bogus upstaffing claims. The merger was presented by the same party is intentionally short-sighted and misleading. Pandemic economics have been used to frame two talkings that are only supported by data from the COVID-19 era. The first is that a merger will save tons of money and costs. This data is presented from periods in 2020 when our firefighters were under mandatory quarantines after being exposed to or contracting COVID-19. Additionally, the administration and commissioners have failed to fill positions vacated by retiring firefighters in a timely manner. 20% of our firefighter workforce just started this February. These two factors have led to record rates of overtime in 2020, but do little to provide an honest account of long-term picture. Running out of time here because I thought we had 5 minutes like everybody else, but basically the budget that's been presented ignores long-term costs. It's not sustainable. If you own $1 million home, you're going to save about $9 a month, but there's no guarantees that that's going to last longer than even a year. So in conclusion, these are just a few of the reasons that I and the members of North Shore, Bothell, Shoreline, and Woodinville's wood unions oppose the merger as currently proposed, a merger that's no longer supported by 60% of our fire commissioners in North Shore, and a merger that was promoted by the misuse of public funds, public assets, and abuses of public offices. Thank you.
Thank you. Jeremy Jamerson.
Hi, first I'd like to start off with, we do in fact have a PIO at North Shore. So it's good to see that some of the commissioners on the board don't even realize the staffing that we currently have. And that the staffing levels of 71% are inflated based off of the snapshot that they looked at and just moving people from one spot to another. So good evening, my name is Jeremy Jamerson and I am a lieutenant with the North Shore Fire Department. I want to thank you for this opportunity to voice my opposition against the proposed merger between North Shore and Woodinville Fire. since some of the commissioners and the administrative have decided not to provide a voter's pamphlet on this ballot measure. I would like to start out with a quote that was told to the Executive Board of North Shore Local 2459 by the Fire Department Administration. The North Shore Fire Department and its labor contract will cease to exist if we become a merged organization on April 27th. I tell you that because I want to give you a sense of what is happening to your local firefighters that you rely on when you need help the most. The most valuable part of the fire department is the first responders that show up when you call 911. The administration wants to take all that away and do a hostile takeover because a PERC ruling gives them the option to. Ask yourself, is that right, fair, or working collaboratively with the most valuable asset of the fire department? In addition to the hostile takeover and misleading combined agency financials provided by the administration, we also face a significant reduction in take-home pay that I rely on to pay my bills and support my family. To me, this is the best job in the world. I make a decent living, but I also don't think that this merger should land on the backs of the firefighters when we are the ones who are called on to save the lives and property of the community members. The Fire Department administration and most of the commissioners are trying to sell this merger by stating a significant cost savings to taxpayers. I want to point out that the proposed combined agency financials posted on Woodinville's and North Shore's websites are incomplete, inaccurate, misleading, and most importantly, unsustainable. On March 16th, during the public comment section of the joint board commissioner meeting, it was asked if Woodinville citizens would be paying for the Station 51 bond that North Shore citizens approved. Commissioner Marin stated in one part of the meeting, it will stay with North Shore, but later mentioned they could pass it on to Woodinville after merged if they felt like they should share the cost. So my question is, which is it? Their proposed financials don't clearly show either way. What is clear is they show one effective tax rate for the new combined agency, which makes no sense if the bond is staying with North Shore, because there should be two effective tax rates to reflect that. You're probably asking yourself the same question that some of the commissioners have, and that is, what now? Well, now is the time to take public opposition to this merger and vote no on Proposition 1 on the April 27th ballot. Thank you.
Thank you. Rick Hawley. Rick Hawley. Rick Hawley.
Now.
We can hear you.
Oh, good. My name is Rick Hawley. I'm a resident of the city of Kenmore. Heard a lot. I've got a few general comments, perhaps for further reflection. Up until a few months ago, all four of the labor organizations that have been mentioned with some prominence tonight were in favor of the merger, and I'd like to know what it is that's caused them to do a unanimous about face. Mr. Ingersoll talked about loss of wages if there is a merger, and I'm wondering, after listening to some of the other firefighters, if that loss of income would not be due to a loss of overtime. I'm also a little shocked that Mr. Admin would talk about a $78 a year tax saving as being no tax saving whatsoever, and that the slightly reduced tax benefit that I believe it was Mr. Ingersoll talked about amounts to like about a 1% difference in what the commissioners and their consultant are projecting. That's certainly well within the statistical margin of error. I don't know. When I listened in on the recent fire commission meeting and talked about the merger, the only people, or the vast majority of the people who spoke in opposition to the merger were all surprise firefighters. What my opinion is that the firefighters want to postpone any merger whatsoever in hopes of in the upcoming election for commissioners that they can stack the board in their favor and realize a one-time windfall contract and in perpetuating a further undue influence on the contracts negotiated. So that's all I've got to say. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Matt Hochstein.
Yes, hi, my name is, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, my name is Matt Hochstein. I'm a battalion chief with the North Shore Fire Department on A shift. I've been a firefighter at North Shore for a little over 24 years. Just wanted to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Mayor and the council members for the opportunity to speak. I consider the fire department to be run as an analogy of a three-legged stool, right? The elected commission, the administration, including the chiefs, and the union made up of the firefighters. To keep the stool from tipping over, in this case, the department running well, all three legs need to work in unison. Unfortunately, the process that has taken place with this merger in an effort to merge our department with Woodinville has taken away one of the legs, the firefighters of Local 2459. There has been a complete unwillingness to include firefighters as an equal. Instead, a forced plan to take Woodinville's contract without the opportunity to negotiate in good faith. By the way, a Woodinville contract that is currently expired and headed to mediation. How does an organization provide accurate funding projections when a current contract hasn't even been agreed to? I am confused, frustrated, angry, discouraged, and saddened that even a week after the Board of Fire Commissioners voted to cease efforts in support of this merger, you still have fire commissioners coming to this meeting seeking your support for this measure. I respectfully ask this council and the citizens listening to help your firefighters who work day in and day out to protect and serve this community by voting no for this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Todd Woolham.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
All right. Okay, I'm Todd Wallum. Thank you for letting me speak tonight. I was a firefighter at North Shore Fire Department for 9 years before I went to paramedic school, and I've served the last 14 years as a paramedic for Shoreline Fire Department. Currently live in Kenmore, so I have a lot of passion for the fire service. I care very much for the crews that work at North Shore. I work with them frequently. So when you see something you perceive as unjust, you tend to step forward and take care of your friends. So yes, the commissioners are right. All four labor organizations supported this wholeheartedly. We all know that there is benefits to gain when a merger is done correctly, and a merger is done with levels of service improvements in mind, not saving money. The fire service is built on resiliency. It is not built as a business to save money. When you save money, you risk people's lives. And to run on the cheap as a fire department, you risk people. Point out a couple things that might have been not talked about as far as some of the perceived cost savings that they talk about. Currently, the fire marshal in Woodinville is too busy to provide any fire marshal services for North Shore Fire Department. So even though our administrative staffs are merged, or their administrative staffs are merged, there is no fire marshal service, building construction, plans review, any of that. That is all done by a contract person from the city of Bothell. They use the Bothell Fire Department or fire marshal as their fire marshal. So there's no cost savings, and they will have to hire more people to do that. As far as a benefit in service or an improvement in service of North Shore Fire transporting, North Shore Fire Department could transport starting tomorrow if their Board of Fire Commissioners would say, you guys can transport. They don't transport, and they use AMR because they don't want their guys out of the district. It is a choice made by the administration that could be corrected today. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Rick Verlinda. Rick Verlinda.
There we are. Sorry, I got to unmute myself.
We can hear you.
Okay, thank you. Are we ready? Thank you. Rick Verlinda. I will say the same as Commissioner Mayer did. I'm a fire commissioner currently with North Shore. My background is 30 years as a battalion chief with the Seattle Fire Department. I also was a union president and executive board member for 10 years. I will kind of, obviously, I hope the city council is hearing the vast differences of opinions and perspectives on this issue. I'm on the other side. I'm the one that made the motion. I've tried to support this from the beginning. I think it was questionable and problematic from the beginning. The main point I would say to the city council at this time is I think it's significant to recognize that the current information being provided to the public is produced through a PR firm that was paid tens of thousands of dollars. It's clear from other citizens' comments that there's a counterpoint to every supposed financial savings or increase in service or benefits. And unfortunately, from the very beginning of this process over a year and a half ago, those were never addressed. And this became a PR event, I think. It's kind of finally all come due. What I would offer to the board and I'd offer to the citizens of this area is contact firefighters, contact fire commissioners, try to get a complete view of the information because what's currently provided is not. And then to the citizens, and I would ask this board or the city council tonight to at least abstain from an endorsement on this. I think just hearing from citizens' comments and again, what I could provide, it's been clear throughout the process that there is no clear understanding and what I believe objective, non-biased information being provided at this time to the public. I disagree entirely with the proposed financial savings. I don't think they're sustainable. There's no increase in service. As already said, this aid car issue is something that was just created to become a benefit. And finally, as I did make that motion, I think it's problematic for an organization. And I think it's definitely unfortunate that this organization, which is really represented in my view by the firefighters, have been excluded. And I support their position on this merger. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mayor Baker, I see no further hands raised.
Anybody else wishing to speak? Anybody else wishing to speak?
I see one hand raised.
Okay.
Catherine Brialt. Catherine Brialt.
Hi, my name is Catherine, and I am Woodinville Fire and Rescue's public information officer, and been a part of the communication process. And I believe we've spoke a lot to it, or a lot of the people here have spoke a lot to that process. And I just wanted to, make my point to clarify that, yes, there has been a communications team involved, but also so has both communication from both agencies. And I know that I can't speak for North Shore, but I can speak to the actions kind of taken by both districts in terms of communications. And every month we've had meetings for months now, including union officials, including support from both the PEIO, community engagement, and public educator from North Shore, and myself on some of the communications that have gone out. So I just want to make it clear that you know, a lot of the communications that we've put out on both of our district websites have been a collaborative effort. And I really feel like that's important to share while we're kind of talking about this effort that we're doing. So again, my name's Catherine Bro. You can always reach out to me. I'm Woodinville Fire and Rescue's Public Information Officer. And I just wanted to speak to that effort that we have been making to include everybody in the communications process.
Thank you.
Is there anybody else wishing to be heard? If no.
I see one more hand, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Becca Chen.
Hi, I ended up sticking around, and what a really interesting topic of discussion, especially regarding our wonderful fire department here. My background is in finance, and one of the things I always try to bring forth is the humanistic aspect of money. And this is a little bit concerning to me as a citizen. Obviously, I am not part of the fire department commission. I am not affiliated with the fire department whatsoever, but I do know what the fire department does for our community. And it's more than just putting out fires, and that is they rescue people. Most recently, there was a huge accident right on Juanita Drive, and the first person on scene, it was the fire department. They have also helped contribute to community by doing raising money through their boots and doing things all around. When COVID was going around, they went around in their fire trucks, bringing delight to our children. I think that when you're considering this, there is something called the pain point analysis, where you have to determine whether or not the dollar saving is worth the community's perspective or perception of what is being lost. And that is something that we have to weigh what is quantifiable versus what is not. And what I'm hearing and how I'm feeling, and from what I am understanding of the situation, it is very much a huge gap that you have to raise. And the dollar savings of $78 a year, I don't think that that's enough to really overcome the really great benefits that the fire department really does provide to our community. So my question to the council I have always a lot of questions, but I want to pose a few of them to you. The first is why are they so hesitant, and why are they so against this? If the PIO officer was and I'm sure that there were a lot of communications and opportunities to engage, but obviously the effectiveness of those communication was not great enough, where they are feeling such opposition to this merger. How do we come to this point where it's being put on the ballot without really getting the very people who are most involved in this process to be on board? If the fire department are the ones who are doing the work, then they should be the first ones to be considered. So why weren't they considered fully? And is the dollar savings really worth it? At what point did you think that $78 would be enough? And what sort of analysis was done to think that that would be enough for the merger to occur? And really, is that a true reflection of something that, as the other people said, it is a sustainable model, or will that be decreased over time in terms of savings amount? Thank you once again. I hope I didn't take too much of your time. I really appreciate everything that everyone is doing for this community, and especially our wonderful firefighters. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? Seeing no one else moving forward.
I apologize, Mr. Mayor. Is it okay to entertain one more public comment? I have one final hand raised from Doug.
Everybody to speak that can speak.
Thank you. Doug? And before you begin, Doug, if there are any final people wishing to speak, please raise your hand right now. Doug, can you hear us?
I can hear you.
We can hear you. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, my name is Doug Loser. I'm the union president for local 1760, which is Shoreline Fire Department. We are basically in support of North Shore and Woodinville's opposition to this merger. At this point, it doesn't appear that it's making sense or is in the best interest of either of those cities. And we feel like there's potentially better options that could make more sense for both of those cities. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I'm going to declare this this comment period closed. And is there any more information or anybody have any opinions? Deputy Mayor?
Well, I wanted to flag first for the clerk. It sounds as if Councilmember Files' audio isn't working. And so she's dialed in. And so if we could promote the phone number that ends with 2255.
And I think, I think I sent you a text on that also.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure
No,
that
Anastasia, yeah.
I wasn't seeing it on the
2255.
Yes.
Yes.
There's no way to promote a phone number to the council dais and webinar form. However, we should be able to get audio from them or from Councilmember File. I'm asking right now to test. I'm asking to unmute on the audio piece.
Councilmember File, can you respond? Councilmember File? Can you respond? Looks
And
like
what I can do too is I'll fade into the background and triage this with Councilmember File.
Great.
Responding. We can hear you.
on the phone or on the computer?
I think that was through the computer.
Yeah, I think it was a computer too.
Is that working?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you.
We're trying to get your phone working. All right. Next item on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I don't think we're done with this discussion.
Yeah, no, we're not. Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
So, I mean, I come here tonight and I'm a little heartbroken with where things have landed with this merger. I know that the commission has, been working their tails off for almost a decade, seeking a merger. And I believe there probably are positives to end the regionalization of our fire services. Unfortunately, with our own firefighters opposed and our own commission moving to suspend their support, I have to sadly support a resolution in opposition to this ballot measure tonight. And I really wish it wasn't that way. I'm really hoping that labor and the commissioners can find a solution that works for everyone in the future. But unfortunately, it doesn't appear like this ballot measure is it. So I would move that we pass a resolution in opposition of this ballot measure.
I second that.
Second.
Moved and seconded to oppose the ballot measure. Is there any further discussion? Yes, Councilmember Marshall.
I echo what Councilmember Herbig said, Deputy Mayor Herbig said, and if we don't have support from the commission and labor, and there are also apparently some sort of negotiations ongoing, it looks like this could get to a better place, but right now it absolutely doesn't work. And to me, it's especially important with that it go forward with the support of labor and certainly our fire commission as well. So yeah, I'd be opposed to the merger.
Councilmember Shrubnik.
Yeah, take it one step further. As many of you may recall, we've been asking for transparent information on the financial and service implications of this for over a year and have not received them, which is very disappointing and probably contributes something to what is happening now with the lack of support from both the commissioners and the union. I certainly don't want to support where this is going. I do want to punctuate a couple of things. I would hope this doesn't relate to the vote per se, but I would hope that both the North Shore Fire District would post something to their website to the effect of the vote that was taken last week. There's nothing that we can see now. And also, I just want to make sure that we correct our agenda and minutes to the correct King County ballot measure, which is the link that we have now is to the November 2020 election. And we want the special purpose special election that's coming up in April.
Oh, good point.
So, but those are my only comments. Thank you.
All right. Any further discussion?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
Hi, if I may just clarify the motion to better understand the intent, is it to, there's two options actually. So is it to direct staff to bring back a resolution to pass, or is it a one-step motion, which is the vote would be in fact approving a resolution in opposition to the merger and then authorizing the mayor to go ahead and sign it so it doesn't need to come back to you?
That's my intention. I would just like to get this taken care of tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, one-step process. All right. There's no other discussion. Will clerk please take the roll? This is on a motion to not support this as a one-step process. So clerk, please take the roll.
Councilmember File?
Yes.
Councilmember O'Kane?
Yes.
Councilmember Kugler?
Yes.
Councilmember Shrubnik?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herbig?
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall?
Yes.
Mayor Baker?
Yes, motion passes unanimously. All right. Next item on the agenda is a Safe Place program presented by Police Chief Brandon Moen. Chief.
Good evening, Mayor. Thank you, Mayor and Council, for allowing me to come speak to you tonight. I'm going to share my screen real quickly here. 1 second. Okay, there we go. So the Safe Place program adoption, something we've been working on for a while. First, I want to thank Councilmember File for bringing this to me last year. We first met late last year about this program, and we spoke again about the program at the council retreat a few months ago. So it's been in the works for a little bit, but I wanted to provide a little bit of an overview of the program for not only your benefit, but for the public as well. So just going to briefly run through the benefits of the Safe Place program. This really is a partnership between primarily businesses and schools and the police, in addition to other community organizations and service organizations. And it's based around this was become a somewhat universal logo and decal that's at these locations that really identifies these locations as a place that's safe, and that the location will support victims of hate crimes in particular. The program, which I'll talk about the particulars here in a second, but the program is free to the public. It's free for businesses, service organizations, schools, government agencies, pretty much everything except residential locations. The program first started around 2014 in Seattle, primarily geared towards the LGBTQ community, and was really started to address what was known to be underreporting of hate crimes, particularly in that community. And later on in 2018, it expanded to be inclusive of all hate crimes, which is a much broader segment of the community. Right now, there's hundreds of agencies throughout the country and Canada, and particularly here locally, there's multiple that use the program. Seattle Police actually have the logo trademarked, and they have certain requirements that agencies must meet in order for them to allow us to use the logo and be part of the program. Fortunately, the sheriff's office, we already had many of the requirements met, actually all of the requirements met in our existing department policies specific to hate crimes. And those, just to give a summary, some of them revolve around how they're reported, how officers respond to them. In our case, supervisors are also required to respond to hate crimes in addition to the officers. We have a designated bias crime coordinator within our department. They are automatically assigned for detective follow-up regardless of the circumstances. So all these policies were already in place for the sheriff's office, which allowed us to kind of get this program going within Kenmore very quickly and adopt the program hopefully here tonight. So really what is required of participants, it's really geared around three things. Should a hate crime victim enter a premise that is a safe place location, that the employees, the staff of that location are asked to call 911 on the person's behalf, on the victim's behalf, allow the victim to stay there until we arrive. And should the victim leave before we get there, just call and let us know where they went. And if there's a suspect nearby, where the suspect went, and give us a description and what direction travel so we have an idea of who we're looking for. So those are the three main principles. It's really fairly simple. It's just a safe place for these hate crime victims to come in, call 911, be safe, be in a public location where there's other people around until the police can arrive. So our Safe Place website is live already. Thank you to Lauren Homiak for really creating it and getting it going for me. It was it's a very informative site that gives a number of the readers a number of things, like it talks about the history of the symbol, the logo. It defines what is a hate crime in Washington state law. It talks about the requirements of the program or the expectations of people that want to be part of the program. We also have a flyer on there that is posted or can be posted at businesses or locations that choose to be part of the program. And so their employees or staff can know exactly what the expectations are. It's geared specifically towards the employees. So to be part of the program, we've made it very simple. It's an online application. You go to our police website right now on the City Kenmore website, and you can enter your information. You agree to those three principles we just talked about for your organization, and we will bring a decal to you, and along with some other information on the program. But we may mail it, but most likely we'll just drop it off and bring it by to the location once it's up and going. In terms of getting the program going and outreach, we'll certainly use social media, press releases of some sort, reaching out to the Kenmore Business Alliance and the Chamber of Commerce to let our businesses know, as well as the schools and other organizations, so they can get engaged and become part of it. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen. So just to give you an idea, that's the sticker is already printed. Oh, it's kind of losing it in the graphic. It doesn't like. If I hold it right in front of my face, it'll work. Anyways, the stickers are already printed. We're ready to go. Really appreciate, again, the support of staff and council in getting this going. And if any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Otherwise, I'll turn it back to the mayor for the proclamation.
Any questions? All right. Seeing none, the proclamation that initiates this program is, whereas victims of hate crimes are often fearful to report these crimes to authorities, allowing suspects to continue their unlawful and threatening behavior. Whereas hate crime laws in Washington state protect community members from crimes in which they are targeted due to their race, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender or sexual orientation, gender expression or identity, or mental, physical, or sensory disability. Whereas members of the lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer LGBTQ community in particular have historically underreported hate crimes that occur to them. Whereas race-based hate crimes continue to persist, including an increasing number of hate crimes directed toward members of the Asian American community in our nation over the past year, driven by false narratives and xenophobia surrounding the pandemic. Whereas the development of a partnership with businesses and community groups can serve a critical role in assisting victims of hate crimes. Whereas Kenmore strives to provide a welcoming, inclusive community where all feel safe from bias-motivated crimes. Now, I therefore, David Baker, Mayor of the City of Kenmore, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim that the City of Kenmore is hereby a proud member of the Safe Place program. Let us support our community by providing locations where persons can seek out a safe place to call 911 and wait for police to arrive. While Kenmore remains a highly safe community with low crime rates of crime, including hate crimes, it is our intent to be welcoming and supportive of all within our city. All right. Thank you very much, Chief. We appreciate your presentation.
And Mr. Mayor, we do have a special guest here to accept the proclamation. I think Councilmember File may want to do the honors of introducing the guest.
It would be sure my proud and distinguished honor to have welcome Manisha Harrell, Board Chair and Director of Equal Rights Washington, to accept this proclamation on behalf of this of Equal Rights Washington for the City of Kenmore, and we are so grateful to have you with us tonight.
Thank you so much. My video, I think, is been whatever the video version of muted is, but I want to thank you for allowing me to be here today. My name is Manisha Harrell, and I am the Board Chair of Equal Rights Washington. Our country and our government aren't immune to hate. We know this. When my grandmother was 9 years old, she was interned in a concentration camp in Minidoka, Idaho, during World War II. We have a history. Just 5 years ago, we were fighting against bills that would keep our transgender youth out of schools. This symbol today by the Kenmore City Council is remarkably meaningful because it is a symbol of the values that Kenmore holds and that Kenmore hopes to see for its future. The reason we can't take this for granted is because this is a cycle, and we've seen that hate speech leads to hate crimes and that no community is immune to it. And it's not just limited to our community. Sometimes as government, we take for granted that government can do things that encourage the increase in hate speech and hate crimes. So this step today by all of you, by the Kenmore City Council, and thank you, Mr. Mayor, for this declaration. It is meaningful at a moment when we are seeing such a tremendous increase in hate crimes. Right now, it is our Asian American community that is at the brunt of it. But Washington State has always had in its top 3 hate crimes, race, LGBTQ identities, and religion. And we are a state that values a place for everybody to be free and be whole and have their access to life and liberty here. So what you're doing is remarkably meaningful. This proclamation will be framed and mounted proudly in Equal Rights Washington's office. The work that you're doing here sets an example for every other community in Washington State. And I just want to thank you for moving this forward.
Thank you. Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming tonight, and our community has always tried to be an inclusive community, one that that respects everybody's rights. And so we really appreciate your being here to accept this proclamation. So thank you. All right. Next item on our agenda is an addendum number 1 to contract number 18-C1863, an agreement with North Shore Canoe and Kayak Club for public recreational programming.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. I'm here tonight to ask Council to approve Amendment Number 1 to the NCKC, otherwise known as Kenmore Waterfront Activity Centers contract. The original contract has been in place since 2014 for waterfront recreational activities. A new contract was executed in 2018, which allowed NCKC the right to use the detached garage and portions of Squires Landing Park property. This amendment is in response to the upcoming construction that will take place at Squires Landing Park from September 2021 to September 2023. During this time, the park will be closed to the public, including access to KWAC's recreational programming. This addendum has been reviewed and signed by KWAC. Thank you.
Any discussion? All right. Seeing none, is there a motion to authorize the city manager to execute the addendum number 1 to contract 18-C1863?
I so move.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, will the clerk please call the roll?
Mayor Baker,
Come back to me.
Councilmember Kugler,
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall,
Yes.
Councilmember File,
Yes.
Councilmember Shrubnik,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Kane,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herbig,
Yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes, since my wife is the head of NCKC, I'm going to abstain on this one.
Noted. 1 abstention, motion passes.
All right. Next item on our agenda is State Transportation Revenue Package Resolution Number 21-361, expressing support for a comprehensive transportation revenue package. Mr. City Manager.
Thank you, Your Honor and City Council. Right now, the state legislature is in session, and there is a possibility that they may pass a state transportation revenue package like the one they did back in 2015. There's a lot of reasons why it might be a good idea to pass such a package, and they're outlined in the agenda bill and also in the resolution. And it was suggested by our state intergovernmental affairs firm that we pass a resolution that joins with other cities in support of a transportation package. Our resolution in particular emphasizes pedestrian bicycle safety, multiple modes of transportation, and preservation of existing roads and sidewalks, as opposed to big new shiny freeway interchanges and things like that for cars. So that's what's in front of you tonight. Any questions?
Deputy Mayor.
And no real questions. I do want to thank the city manager and staff for putting together a letter that, or a proclamation that I can get behind. I appreciate the thoughtfulness that went into it.
If there's no further discussion, the chair will entertain a motion to pass resolution number 21-361 in support of the state transportation revenue package.
So moved.
And I'll second. All right. If there's no further discussion, will the clerk please take the roll?
Councilmember O'Kane,
Yes.
Councilmember Shrubnik,
Yes.
Councilmember File,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Herbig,
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall,
Yes.
Councilmember Kugler,
Yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes.
Motion passes.
All right. Next item on our agenda is going to be item E that was added. Councilmember Kugler, I don't want to put you on the spot. Do you have a copy of what we worked on together? And if you don't have it handy, I'll read the one that I have.
I don't have it right in front of me, but I can find it pretty quickly if you give me just
Okay,
one
because
second.
I would really like you to read it if possible. And I'm sorry that I didn't talk to you more ahead of time.
Okay, I do have it in front of me.
So everybody on the council has it because we did send it out this past week for you to look at.
Okay, and you'd like me to read it as is? Okay. So as a city, we are outraged by the increase in hate incidents directed at members of our Asian American Pacific Islander communities in this country. Anti-Asian hate crime rose 33% from 2019 to 2020 in Seattle and rose in the aggregate 149% during the same period in 16 of our country's largest cities, including Seattle. The tragic murder of 8 individuals, 6 of whom were of Asian descent in Atlanta, has increased the fear and anxiety that many Asian Americans feel. Locally and recently, there was a violent attack against Noriko Nasu, a Japanese American Inglemoor High School teacher, and her partner while in the Seattle Chinatown International District. Now, many in the Asian community are afraid for their personal safety. All residents in Kenmore must work together to fight against racism, xenophobia, and bigotry in whatever form they take. We must be silent no more. We must speak up against misinformation, call out scapegoating, and condemn violence. Individually, we can do better. Collectively, we will do better. We hereby proclaim on behalf of the City of Kenmore our renewed and ongoing commitment to be an open, inclusive, and welcoming place for all. Kenmore stands strongly against hate, and we stand together in solidarity with our Asian and Asian American and Pacific Islander neighbors.
So we work together, Councilmember Kugler and I, to rework a statement that was made by Bellevue Councilmember Janice Zahn and Mercer Island Mayor Benson Wong. It's important, I think, that we take a stand as a collective body against these hate crimes. And so I would ask for council members' support to hereby proclaim that on behalf of the City of Kenmore, our renewed and ongoing commitment to be an open, inclusive, and welcoming place for all. And Kenmore stands strongly against hate, and we stand together in solidarity with our Asian and Asian American and Pacific Islander neighbors. So I guess I'm asking for council's approval to issue this as a statement.
So
great, thank you for the motion.
Second.
And is there a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. All right. So I see it's pretty much unanimous. Let's do this formally, though. Clerk, please take the roll.
Deputy Mayor Herbig,
Yes.
Councilmember Shrubnik,
Yes.
Councilmember O'Kane,
Yes.
Councilmember Kugler,
Yes.
Councilmember Marshall,
Yes.
Councilmember File,
yes.
Mayor Baker.
Yes. So the clerk has a copy of this, and she will do what clerks do with proclamations. So, and maybe we can do a press release on this too. I don't want to steal thunder from Councilmember Zahn and Mayor Wong, but I think that we need to make it known that we are in support of that. All right. Next item on the agenda is the staff report. Mr. City Manager.
I'd like to first turn the time over to Richard Sawyer, our Environmental Services Manager, for a quick update on the Climate Action Plan progress.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor, Council. Yes, as Rob mentioned, I wanted to just provide a brief update on how the Climate Action Plan is progressing. It's been a few months since there's been an update. So the city in February finalized a contract with Cascadia Consulting Group to help us develop the plan. So they were also the consultant that helped us calculate our greenhouse gas emissions that was presented last December to council. The first three subtasks as we start this plan development, as outlined in that December meeting, will include a public stakeholder engagement plan. So the consultant's been working on this as one of the very first steps, and a draft will be completed this week for staff review. And myself and the project manager from Cascadia will be presenting that to council next month. And that will be Angela Peachman, who you may recall from the December meeting that we've been working with. We've really trying to put a lot of energy into creating a robust engagement plan that will really take a lot of effort at reaching out into the community and engaging with stakeholders, anyone who wants to be involved and interested. They have expertise in reaching out to historically disadvantaged groups to make sure that they can get their voice heard and be at the table as we develop the plan. So I'm excited to get that draft this week and be presenting that to you next month. Two additional tasks that we are working on is also determining and figuring out the emission reduction targets that we need to set, which will be those greenhouse gas emission reduction targets that will be set for the future. As I've mentioned in December, the city has already agreed to, in our coordination with K4C, several countywide greenhouse gas reduction targets. So we would be reviewing those and incorporating any other kind of more specific reduction targets that we would want to add to that. And also point out that the public engagement portion of that will overlap with setting those emission reduction targets. So council and the public will have an opportunity to review and comment and participate with setting those reduction targets. And then lastly, the consultant is putting together a vulnerability assessment. So they're collecting a lot of data and literature specific to our region. So one of the goals of the plans is not only to identify what our greenhouse gas emissions are and then set reduction goals for us to meet, but they assess the what particular vulnerabilities that the city has as inevitable climate change impacts do occur, and what kind of strategies that we can start implementing in order to increase the city's ability to adapt to those changes over the next decades as they come. So that will also be a critical part of the report. And again, that will also overlap with that public engagement component. So council and the public will have the ability to review and comment on that vulnerability assessment when that is ready. And the reduction targets and vulnerability assessment should be, we're shooting to have a May-June council meeting for that portion of it. So that's where we are currently. We just, there's not much information on it yet, but we do have a climate action web page in the environmental services section on the city's website. So as we start getting new information and progressing in the development of the report, that's where we will keep the public and council updated with lots of information. So as well as I'll probably do frequent reminders in your weekly letter too, and reference that website for additional information. So that's about it. I just wanted to provide that brief update. And as I mentioned, we should be seeing you in April to start actually looking and approving of that community engagement plan.
Any questions? Yes, Councilmember O'Kane.
It's not a question. I just want to thank Richard for his great work on the climate action plan. And I want to share with Rob, our city manager, Mr. Carl Lindsay, how thankful I am that we're going to have this up on our website and ready for our community to see the great work that we're doing. So thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Sawyer. Really appreciate it.
I got a few more things, Mayor.
Yes.
Yeah, so we're now in phase 3 of the governor's reopening plan. What does that mean for us? Not a whole lot has changed with a couple of notable exceptions. The Diva Espresso in the hangar has moved to 50% capacity, and we're going to follow suit in the public portion of the hangar. And what that means is we're just going to add one more table. So we'll be doing that soon. Also, outdoor social gatherings have been, the limit's been moved up to 50 people. And so starting May 1st, we're going to allow reservations of the picnic shelter at Rhododendron Park. But other than that, the governor's phased reopening plan strongly encourages office workers to keep working from home if possible. So we'll follow that guidance. And of course, our field workers are already out in the field working. They're, as I've told you before, they're implementing precautions and not driving in the same trucks and the social distancing and all those things. So we're also waiting for the additional guidance from Department of the Treasury on the federal funding that will be coming our way, and also any guidance from the state that might come as well. So we're just kind of in a holding pattern on that. But we will be, at some point, we will be coming forward with a plan on how to spend the American Rescue Plan Act money that's coming to Kenmore. Not sure when that will be. I don't know if that'll be April or May. It depends just on when the rules come out and how quickly we can react to that and come up with a plan. In the meantime, we are reaching out to different agencies, including nonprofit groups, to find out what their needs are. And then Strong Towns, which is an organization some of you have heard of, I think, especially this last week. They do a fun contest, the Strongest Town contest. And in the month of March, they try to have a municipal version of March Madness. And they do kind of a bracket and put cities up against each other. And we made the Sweet 16 and we won that round. And now we're on to the Elite 8 round. We're in the Elite 8. And if we make this round, then we'll go to the Final 4. And but this is all just kind of like democratic voting. And so we'll try to get people in Kenmore to cast their vote. And hopefully we can advance to the Final 4. If we do advance to the Final 4, then we get to be on a podcast. All 4 cities get to be on a podcast. And that's going to be recorded this Friday, but that's only if we make it to the Final 4. And I've asked the mayor to be on that podcast. So cross your fingers. Hopefully we'll make it that far. We are going against Bentonville, Arkansas, headquarters of Walmart, ironically enough. And they're twice our size, and I think they have more money than we do, but that's never stopped us, right? We're a scrappy little city, and we tend to, punch above our weight? Is that the term? And then last but not least, we're always dealing with kind of dynamic and changing conditions on our road construction projects. And I emailed you last week letting you know that we'll have to close a section of Juanita Drive at the Juanita Curve, is what we often call it, between 153rd and 155th. We're going to be closing that starting Wednesday from 7 a.m. to 3 p.m., fully closed, both lanes. And we have to do that for safety reasons and for access reasons. The contractor is actually creating new real estate there at the corner. And what I mean by that is they're creating a new wall on the golf course side of the road to create more room for sidewalks and bike lanes and things. And they're all doing it from up above. They can't access it from down below. And so there's a big crane out there, and that crane needs plenty of room to swing and turn. And we found we couldn't do it just with one lane closed. So we need both lanes to be closed so that crane can have full access and put in those soldier pile walls that are going to be needed there. How long? Probably 4 to 6 weeks. So that's the bad news. The good news is it might actually speed things up and get that section done a little bit sooner. We are just broadcasting this like crazy. We're reaching out to individual homeowners that are affected, going up to their door and knocking on their door, notifying schools and businesses and neighborhoods and all sorts of things with just a few days notice, right? So we have the VMS boards out, and there's going to be detours, and we have maps showing detours and all that stuff. But this is a situation where we just had to be flexible and improvise. And when you get complaints about it, which you probably will, just remind everybody that it's going to be all worth it when it's done. And that's all I have.
Yes, we're seeing a huge increase in traffic on Simons Road. So we're prepared for even more.
Yeah.
All right. Councilmember reports and comments. Councilmember O'Kane.
I have a few reports and comments today. I will start with WIRA 8. I made the announcement at WIRA 8 at our last meeting that Canmore is ready for more funding towards salmon habitat recovery here, north end of Lake Washington and in our floodplains. And it was well received. I have made arrangements to meet monthly with Jason Mulvihill Coons to work with him on strategies for what we can do to bring more salmon habitat recovery work funding our way and work with our regional partners to make something happen there. Also on April 1st, I'll be, Jason Mulvihill Coons of RIA 8 has invited me to participate in a salmon recovery priorities meeting with our U.S. Representative Susan Delbene, and I'll give a report out after that. I've been working with our city manager to ensure that we are bringing the right projects to the table to request funding in that respect. And so those are my salmon habitat recovery updates. I do want to share with our community, we need to hear from you so that we can talk to our representatives, our Congress people and our senators to get the funding that we need to restore the north end of Lake Washington and the Sammamish River Slough. We're in a critical space and time for salmon recovery. Our salmon returns are lower than they've ever been. And too much of our planet is dependent upon our salmon, on our water, and what we do about it. So please raise your voices. We want to hear from you. It's so important. And with that, I'm going to roll into saying your voices matter. And I was as usual, we have a very engaged community. And I want to call attention to issues raised about the asphalt plant earlier this evening, and actually throughout my term here as a council member. You have been bringing your concerns to the forefront, and we are taking action on your behalf. And there are things even today that were brought up, things such as the air sensor lending program raised by Elizabeth Mooney, and just the whole irony that using something to limit the smells from the asphalt plant limits our ability to know for our citizens to notice there's a problem. Us hearing your concerns about those things helps us to think about them and how our city engages with Cadman and other businesses and agencies that we need to work with to ensure that Kenmore is a safe place. I also want to share how thankful I am to live in the city of Kenmore. First, I'm going to start on the broad level of our safe place proclamations that we've made today and being a hate-free zone. I am so thankful that we were able to add to our agenda tonight, a proclamation to stand with our Asian American Pacific Islander community and stand against hate. I dream of a time when these proclamations aren't necessary. But it starts with us raising awareness and standing for and encouraging our community and standing with the humanity of our community. It's up to us to raise children who know safety, who don't live in fear, so that they don't have that pain that lashes out. This is so sad to me, what has happened in our country over the past, it's happened throughout the time of our community, our country's birth. But what's happening today to our Asian American community, to our Black communities, to all of our people of color, and transgender people, gay people, all people deserve to be treated with humanity and love. And it starts with us making these proclamations and reminding each other that we are all human and we deserve a healthy, safe place for everybody to live. That's how we will all thrive. I will also share, on that note, I did have an uplifting experience this weekend on a personal note. On Friday, I lost my dog, and I posted on Kenmore Neighbors, reaching out for help. And I was overwhelmed with the love and support from our community and the number of people who went out walking and looking for him. It was an act of kindness that shows the beauty of the place that we live. And I am thankful to our community. And, Oscar, my dog, was a loved dog. And I thank you so much. And I think I will end there. I feel like I missed something, but thank you. That's it.
All right, Councilmember Marshall.
I just want to say I'm very proud of the direction this council has moved in response to all our recent crises and issues. I think we're moving in a very hopeful, progressive direction. And I'm very proud of our community as well. I think we're in sync. Thank you.
Council Member Kugler.
I do have a couple of comments and that I wanted to make. We covered so much ground in today's meeting, and I think it was kind of the perfect reflection of what we've been talking about when it comes to the intersectionality of how important the diversity, equity, and inclusion work is that we're doing. And I would like to thank Mayor Baker for working with me on that additional proclamation, and all of the city council members who did to add that sort of at the last minute because of its timeliness and importance in condemning anti-Asian hate, and also just voicing to our community members how we stand by. In our community, actions that affect one resident affect all of us, and for long our society has normalized hate and racism. And I hope that we use this sort of as a reminder and organizing force to really stay committed to our diversity, equity, inclusion work that we've already started. And I think it's really critical that we move swiftly and with this to end racism starting in our home, in our city today. So thank you for your commitment to that. Thank you for your support. And I really look forward to working with all of you to make that happen.
Councilmember Shrevenick.
I just want to thank staff and council members for working on these really important statements and proclamations that we made tonight. They are meaningful. I mean, we often think that proclamations are not, business items, but they have meaning to the community. I think they have meanings to affirm where we stand. I also want to thank all of the folks who spoke up about, in both sides, on the fire district merger. That's a big deal, and it's a particularly big deal if it, for whatever reason, ends up making it to voters' doors in the form of a ballot. I know they were trying to prevent it from being mailed, but they may have missed the deadline for that. So that would be unfortunate, but at least we got a chance to discuss it. Nothing else to add.
Councilmember File.
Thank you, Mayor Baker. You know, I want to thank everyone who spoke tonight. There's a wide breadth of issues, all very meaningful and very deep. To our firefighters and our service, hardworking union labor, you're the backbone of our society, and you help make our world a safer place, and we thank you for your work and hard work and dedication to our community and our fire commissioners and our aid workers. I am concerned that we had fire commissioners come speaking before us tonight after a vote of the commissioners, a majority vote of the commissioners to pause and halt. My concern is that we had commissioners going against the will of their body. And that's concerning in government. So I wanted to express that concern. I want to thank Councilmember Kruger and Mayor Baker, Nigel Haerbeck, for working on the AAPI proclamation for our Asian American Pacific Islanders. It's so important that we recognize and see all of our community. And we did that tonight also with the Safe Place program and proclamation. I'm really grateful to this council. I think we are definitely in step with our community and our humanity, and seeing the importance of all people are welcome and accepted for who they are and their valuable contributions to our community. So thank you so much.
Deputy Mayor.
I've got a couple of things. So on Saturday, I attended a Snow King Watershed Council meeting that they were having about a road extension project near Locust Way up in unincorporated Snohomish County. And it's an interesting thing. It's a road extension running up 14th, which is one of the streets that runs kind of parallel of Locust. And it runs through wetlands, and it runs across 3 streams that all drain into Swamp Creek. It would save the average traveler maybe 30 seconds. I've never experienced congestion heading that way. I go there pretty regularly, so I can't fathom why Snohomish County is looking at this. But I just wanted to report that A, there's a group of citizens working on the issue. B, I did flag it for staff because we do have interest in what happens upstream with us, as it does greatly affect our own watershed and flooding downstream and all that sort of thing. So I have flagged that for staff as just something to keep an eye on. There's a Snohomish County Council committee meeting, I think this Wednesday, where they'll be discussing it. And we'll see how things go. Although it sounds like it's one of those things that is just kind of marching forward as government projects tend to do once everybody's kind of bought in. The other concerning thing about it is that the mitigation that they're doing for it isn't in the Swamp Creek watershed. It's actually over in Bothell at Little Bear Creek. So the mitigation wouldn't affect us either. So it's a little concerning. So anyway, I just want to let you know that I went to the meeting. I flagged that for staff as an issue that they'll keep an eye on. Separate issue on the subject of.
Can I jump in real quick?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I apologize, but I do want to give you an update. Thank you, Deputy Mayor, for bringing that to my attention. I didn't know about that project until you forwarded it to me. And in keeping with your past policy of keeping an eye on upstream projects in Snohomish County, we are going to keep an eye on this, and we're actually going to submit a letter before the county council meeting on Wednesday morning, and our city attorney actually plans on going to that meeting and testifying. It's important enough, because of the not just the impacts to what's going on at the location, but what it can do to our own water quality and flooding downstream. And so Don's going to be drafting a letter for us to send tomorrow in advance of the meeting, and then Don will be there. Don, do you want to add anything? Okay.
Nope.
Yeah, we are scratching our head. And again, we don't know a ton about this project, but we are scratching our head why the wetland mitigation would be outside of the Swamp Creek Basin. That just doesn't seem to add up to us. So,
yeah, it's a little concerning. Changing subjects, on the subject of stimulus money coming towards the city. I want to just flag for staff now that I'm interested in the possibility of Kenmore making direct payments to our lowest income residents. There's lots of studies showing that direct cash, especially for folks who need it, has huge positive impacts. The money goes back into local economy, but it also helps folks with things like rent payments and all of this without going through third parties. No idea if it's legal or not, but I just wanted to warn staff that when the plan comes before us, I will be asking about the legality and feasibility of this. So I'm just putting that out there now so that staff can be ready for those questions when they come to us with their plan. And lastly, on the Safe Place program today, I'm really happy that the council was able to support that. It wasn't that long ago when this same council wasn't able to support that. So I'm happy that we are where we are. I want to thank Councilmember File for bringing this back up to the council. And that's all I've got for my comments. Thank you very much.
All right. Upcoming meetings. April 5th, don't forget, we've got that For the Love of Kenmore workshop. The April 12th meeting has been tentatively canceled. So our next meeting for sure is the 19th of April. And Mr. City Manager.
with one exception, we're proposing an executive session this Thursday at 6 p.m. under the topic of potential litigation.
Right, but that is an exec session.
Yeah.
I'm talking about general meetings and stuff.
Okay.
So anyway, if there is no further business to come before us, we're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Have a good night.
Thank you. Good night.